Hello everybody, it's Vertical Sandwich. Welcome back to Book Reviews. So today, Equal Rights. By the way, my first 10 books in the Discworld series are all going to look like this. These are like the original British releases apparently that have like this crazy artwork on them. But then we'll go to kind of standard American releases for the 10 after that. I'm on book like 14 now, and book 12 was one of the best ones in the series. So I don't really know what to, I don't think I'm going to be stopping reading Discworld books anytime soon. That's all I have to say about that. So, here's the thing. So, if you read Color of Magic and Light Fantastic and you think they're funny, they are. They're super funny. They're really good. Equal Rights is actually, I think, the slowest book in the first 10. It's kind of like the letdown. And the problem with that is it's the start of the Witches plotline. And the Witches plotline after this produced two really good books. So, book 2 and 3 in the Witches plotline. This is Equal Rites, R-I-T-E-S, is then followed by Weird Sisters, and then Witches Abroad. And Witches Abroad is amazing. It was so good. Yeah, so this starts the plotline with witches as main characters. So, the last thing the wizard Drum Billet did before death laid a bony hand on his shoulder was to pass on his staff of power to the eighth son of an eighth son. Unfortunately for his colleagues in the chauvinistic, not to say misogynistic world of magic, he failed to check on the newborn baby's sex. So, a girl ends up with a wizard's staff. So, by kind of the rules of magic users in this world, she is confined to be a witch. But witches don't do the same kind of magic as wizards. And so, yeah, so she ends up kind of falling in with these witches, and really where she belongs is kind of with the wizards. And it becomes this kind of comedy of errors about kind of gender in the Discworld and the world of magic. So, the midwife's name was Granny Weatherwax. She was a witch. That was quite acceptable in the Ram Tops, the mountains in the Discworld. And no one had a bad word to say about witches, at least not if you wanted to wake up in the morning the same shape as he went to bed. The smith was still staring gloomily at the rain when she came back down the stairs and clapped a warty hand on his shoulder. He looked up at her. "What shall I do, Granny?" he said, unable to keep the pleading out of his voice. "What have you done with the wizard?" "I put him out in the fuel store, was that right?" "It'll do for now," she said briskly, "and now you must burn the staff." They both turned to stare at the heavy staff, which the smith had propped in the forge's darkest corner. It almost appeared to be looking back at them. "But it's magical," he whispered. "Well, will it burn?" "Never knew wood that didn't." "It doesn't seem right." Granny Weatherwax swung shut the big doors and turned to him angrily. "Now you listen to me, Gordo Smith," she said. "Female wizards aren't right either. It's the wrong kind of magic for women is wizard magic. It's all books and stars and geometry." She'd never grasp it. Whoever heard of a female wizard? "There's witches," said the smith uncertainly, "and enchantresses too, I've heard." "Witches is a different thing altogether," snapped Granny Weatherwax. "It's magic out of the ground, not out of the sky, and men never could get the hang of it. As for enchantresses," she added, "they're no better than they should be. You take it from me, just burn the staff, bury the body, and don't let on it ever happened." Smith nodded reluctantly, crossed over to the forge, and pumped the bellows until the sparks flew. He went back for the staff. It wouldn't move. "It won't move!" Sweat stood out on his brow as he tugged at the wood. It remained uncooperatively immobile. "Here, let me try," said Granny, and reached past him. There was a snap and a smell of scorched tin. Smith ran across the forge, whimpering slightly to where Granny had landed upside down against the opposite wall. "Are you all right?" She opened two eyes like angry diamonds and said, "I see. That's the way it is it?" "The way of what?" "Oh, that's the way of it, is it?" "The way of what?" said Smith, totally bewildered. "Help me up, you fool, and fetch me a chopper." The tone of her voice suggested that it would be a very good idea not to disobey. Smith rummaged desperately among the junk at the back of the forge until he found an old double-headed axe. "Right, now take off your apron." "Why, what do you intend to do?" said the smith, who was beginning to lose his grip on events. Granny gave an exasperated sigh. "It's leather, you idiot. I'm going to wrap it around the handle. It'll not catch me the same way twice." Smith struggled out of the heavy leather apron and handed it to her very gingerly. She wrapped it around the axe, and made one or two passes in the air. Then a spider-like figure in the glow of the nearly incandescent furnace. She stalked across the room and with a grunt of triumph and effort brought the heavy blade sweeping down right in the center of the staff. There was a click. There was a noise like a partridge. There was a thud. There was silence. Smith reached up very slowly without moving his head and touched the axe blade. It wasn't on the axe anymore. It had buried itself in the door by his head, taking a tiny nick out of his ear. Granny stood looking slightly blurred from hitting an absolutely immovable object, and stared at the stub of wood in her hands. "Right," she stuttered, "in that case..." "No," said Smith firmly, rubbing his ear. "Whatever it is you're going to suggest, no! Leave it. I'll pile some stuff around it. No one will notice. Leave it. It's just a stick." "Just a stick?" "Have you got any better ideas? Ones that won't take my head off?" She glared at the staff, which appeared not to notice. "Not right now," she admitted. "You just give me time." So, yeah, they can't destroy the staff. It turns out the kid is the only person who obviously can move it, and yeah, she ends up with witches, and like I said, things go kind of horribly wrong. She has this staff that wants her to use magic that is, buried in books and super magical, and kind of the magic that you associate with wizards, and witches know how to do a different kind of magic. A very strange kind of magic. The kind of magic both of them do is kind of strange. But, because these books are comedies, after all. Now, Equal Rites kind of, I don't know necessarily. I think if Equal Rites had been was later in the series, I think it might hold up better than kind of the thing that Pratchett tried to accomplish really early in the series when you don't really have the groundwork. Like, so much of this takes place in Unseen University and kind of among these witches, and you don't know who these characters are, and the book doesn't do a great job of teaching you. However, when you get to later witch books, those books do an amazing job of teaching you who the characters are. And also, the other problem with this is that I actually don't believe I've seen this character again, and the character of the child. And that's an odd thing for Pratchett to do, because Granny Weatherwax is going to appear multiple times. And his plot lines tend to be very, like, I think you can read. I don't necessarily think it would be the best idea in the world to just, like, start reading, like, Rincewind plot lines only. Like, start with Color of Magic and Light Fantastic, and then move on to Sorcery, and then move on to Eric. I don't know that would be a great idea, because I think you get a lot from kind of the other plot lines, and then certain things recur. Like, there aren't, after you get past kind of, once you get past the next book in the series, like, there isn't a book where death doesn't appear. So if you're just reading death plot lines, because the next book starts the death plot lines, then, you're going to miss out on these kind of other occurrences. I'm realizing, though, that the character that appears in every Discworld book is the librarian. The librarian of Unseen University is in every single Discworld book I've read so far. And as I said, I think that's 14 of them. I think I'm on book 14 now. In fact, I'm sure I'm on book 14. Yeah, so, can I suggest Equal Rites to you? Well, here's the thing, is I'm going to tell you that there's only a couple books that I've really not loved out of the Discworld series, and this is one of them. But the issue with that is that I've loved so many books in the Discworld series, I think you gotta just kind of go with it. And, here's the deal. This is a 200-page book. It's literally only 200 pages. And Pratchett writes in a way where you can read this book in 2 days. Easy. Pratchett's not a hard read. He's really just, he's along for the ride. He's like, let me tell you a fun story. Boom, you're through it. So, do I like this book? I actually didn't love this book. I didn't love this book at all. I think what this book tries to do, I think sorcery does way better. But that being said, the book after this one, this is book 3 in the Discworld series, and book 4 is one of the best books I've read so far. It's amazing. It is so good. It is so funny, and it is so poignant. It is so amazing. And after that, Pratchett never slows down. Like it's like in book 4, he figured out what he was doing, and just ran. He just went like, okay, I got this. This is easy. And then he just took off and wrote 2 books a year for 30 years, and they're fantastic. So, like, you're not going to get you're not going to hear me say this about Discworld books a lot. But I think this is one of the weaker installments. But from here on out, all the reviews are just going to be like me telling you everything that's great about the book. And the occasional, but I didn't like this, or I didn't love this. Yeah, the start of the Witches plot lines, Equal Rites, Discworld novel by Sir Terry Pratchett. And like I said, one of the weaker installments in the series, but the series itself has proven kind of so fruitful and amazing that I have a hard time telling you not to read a Discworld book, because the series is unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me. Because, like, I'm a guy who complains because I don't think series can hold themselves up for like 4 books. And so to be on book 14 of a series and just be like, I can't wait for the next blah 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 plotline. Like, even if the book I'm reading right now turns out to be garbage, there's 4 other character plot lines that could pick up great books. Equal Rites, weaker installment in the Discworld series. I didn't find it to be the greatest thing in the world. However, worth a read because of the series. That is my assessment of Equal Rites. So, when we come back next week, we will be talking about the 4th book in the Discworld series, Mort. Bye, everybody.